Some project teams absolutely crush their organization and their projects, while others can't organize their way out of a wet paper bag. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to take control of your projects and manage them perfectly using Asana. And if you're new here, my name is Pete Moriarty, and with over 20 years experience with small businesses and enough knowledge of project management in running a business for that time, I'm here to guide you through the ultimate steps to becoming a project genius using Asana. Now, whether you're looking to improve your project management skills on a personal level, if you run or you lead a small business and you're the responsible person for kicking butts, or if you're just looking to find the right project management software and you need to see what can work in Asana, I hope this video will be useful for you. So let's get you aligned, let's get you trained on Asana, and let's get you rocking and rolling with your projects. Now, let's start out with some ground rules here. Number one, these are not the perfect way of doing projects. These are our approximation. I'm sure the project management nerds will have their own project management methodology. This is just stuff that I've come up with naturally with my team, and these are the agreed principles that we use in our business. Now, if you've got a better idea or something that you want to add, or you think we've missed something, drop it down in the comments and let me know what you think. But our aim is really to take these principles, put them on a visual guide, stick them on the wall and say, right, as long as we do these things correct, then we know we're going to have a pretty good chance of actually delivering a project well. And if a project doesn't get delivered well, we use these as a diagnostic tool. We look at our principles and we say, okay, which of these principles did we maybe miss, or did we only do a half job of, and where can we make things work better? So the 5 areas that we like to focus on are ownership and accountability, outcomes and KPIs, clear scope and planning, key dates and deadlines, and then cadence and communication. Yes, we've made some of those catchy so you can try and remember them, but we'll get into them and we'll give you a resource to stick up on the wall if you want as well. So first up, we're going to get through some of the boring stuff, which is actually defining project roles. This is not one of the 5, but it's pretty important to support the rest of the 5. Now, in a small business, and by here I mean a company with less than 20 people, you're going to do things differently to how a large organization does project management. Now, I asked GPT for a list of different roles in a project management project, and it gave me like 20 different roles. And that's not really what we're after here. You're probably running small projects in a small business. I'm assuming they're going to last 2 to 4 months if they're strategic projects for execution, either internally inside your business or to a customer. And so we need a simplified set of roles here. The first one that's really important is the owner or sponsor. Now, this is probably going to be you if you're a small business owner and you sit at the top of the company. But if you're lucky enough to have some kind of middle management or other people helping you out with operations, you may have someone else doing that. And this, I like to say, is the person whose butt gets kicked if the project doesn't get delivered. It's not necessarily the project manager. The project manager then is the person who's making sure they're kicking the butts of the doers, the team doing the actual work. And so there's a difference between the owner of the project and the manager of the project in that the owner is the person who probably has a financial incentive to make sure that this is successful, whereas the manager has a very important operational responsibility to make sure that it actually gets done. Now, next up, you may have what we would call an SME or a subject matter expert, and that's the person who understands the technical stuff that needs to happen in a project. If you're trying to build a house, this might be an architect who knows all of the engineering of how much load a piece of timber or a wall of bricks can take. That's the expert who's the technical person in the project. And then you have doers. Doers are people who do other things. Now that might be, all right, if you're building a house, it might be a contractor, it might be a bricklayer, it might be a carpenter. If you're building a website, it might be a graphic designer or an engineer coding things. The doers are the people who are actually making the thing happen. So with that, let's get into our 5 principles. And these are the 5 areas that we think you need to nail for a project to go well. Now, number 1 is ownership and accountability. We know that projects go well when they have a good kickoff and we get everyone in a room and say, right, this is what we're looking to achieve here. Now, the person owning things or the people owning things should have ownership of tasks if they're an individual doer and they're working on tasks. But the manager should also be holding the fort of the whole thing, right? Now, we call this holding the ball in our business. It means that whatever your responsibility is, whether you're a doer doing things, or if you're someone who's coordinating other people, you've got to hold the ball of your responsibility and you can't let that ball go. It means that if you're a doer and a task is assigned to you, you make sure that task gets done. You don't fob it off or you don't hit a wall or a block of some sort and then just stop. you make sure that that gets carried through to completion. Likewise, if you're a manager and you assign something to someone, you don't just hope and wish and pray that they're going to get it done. You make sure that you actually loop back and check in and you manage that task through to completion. So everyone has a responsibility of ownership at all levels of the project. Now, I would say also be careful who you assign these roles to, because you want to make sure that you've got the right personality for the right roles. If you've got an executive like a business owner who's constantly distracted by a million different things, they might not be the best project manager, because they may be working on one thing today, another thing tomorrow, and another thing the next day. Whereas a good project manager is going to make sure there's consistent action in a project, right? And we're going to talk about cadence a little bit later. So it might make sense to have a business owner as a doer for some of the really little important bits, or maybe they're a subject matter expert where they're briefing the team on important things, and then they can disappear again for a couple of weeks doing other areas of the business, and you bring them back just when you need them. Now, some of the features in Asana that make this useful are a dashboard for reporting. Every project has its own dashboard. You can use it to create some basic reports of how tasks are going in there, and I really like that. There's also a overview tab, which gives you a bit of an idea of exactly how the project is going, shows you everything in one place. And there's something that we do called a personal tasks project. Now, this is covered in a separate video, but we create a project for each person personally inside our Asana file. And that person has a more advanced space to manage their own personal tasks. I won't cover more of that today. Now, Asana does have the ability to designate a project owner in the project itself, but it's little more than just kind of informing people who's the owner. If you're a small business, you probably know who's running the project, right? I haven't seen any other use for that feature apart from just tagging someone's name as the project, But I guess that's useful. Number 2, let's talk about outcomes and KPIs. And here's where the project management nerds will start yelling, set SMART goals. Yes, SMART goals are definitely important. Specific, manageable, I don't remember the acronym myself, but the team will put it up here on the screen. You want to make sure that things are actually going to be achievable for your team to get done, and you're not doing pie in the sky dreaming when you're setting up your project. Now, the other thing that's important for us internally as a business is that when we set KPIs, they're data-driven KPIs. And what I mean by that is we don't start the year and say to ourselves, hey, well, what do we think we're going to do in growth this year? Let's grow 30% or let's grow 50%, right? Now, for us, that doesn't really just work to pull a number out of the sky, because we know those numbers will always eventually fail. We want to look at the history of our business. We want to look at how our marketing is performing. We want to look at what is ahead of us in the next 2 years, and we want to make thoughtful decisions based on data about where we think the business is going. We then develop our KPIs. I want you to take the same approach with a project. Set a reasonable expectation of what you think the project will achieve on a numbers basis. Also, remember that if you have a 3-month project and it takes 2 months to get something done, well, your numbers might not even change in the business to get the result that you want until right at the end of the project. So know how the numbers and the changes are going to actually track along the timeline of what you're planning. If you want to set up goals, Asana has a great goals feature which allow you to set different types of goals, whether it's the number of tasks being completed, or my favorite, a number-based KPI, and you can set progress towards that KPI over the course of the month by having your team update their individual and team goals. Now, my favorite is to use phases of a project to break things down. Imagine you've got a 3 or 4 month project. I would try and break it down into phases, ideally no more than about 30 days each, and you can start to think of them as sprints if you want. Now, with a section inside of Asana, you can have different sets of tasks differentiated, and that's how we use it for different phases in a project. Now, it's important that this should be ever evolving, and a good project manager will be ever evolving their planning of the project. Yes, sometimes timelines don't go to plan. Yes, sometimes the scope changes mid-project. Yes, sometimes you hit a roadblock and things get delayed. Well, you should always be able to adjust things, but what we don't want is to have big goals and ambitions and they're not chunked down into smaller pieces along the way. Using phases allows us to do that. Nowadays, AI tools can help us to actually build out all the things we need to get done in a project. We love using ChatGPT and even Gemini for this. Asana also has some built-in AI tools which allow you to automatically populate tasks and subtasks within a project. Give those a go and let us know what you think in the comments with some feedback on those. To make sure you get your planning done correctly using Asana's features, you want to add a clear project description, which lets someone know what this project is about. And think of that like the initial project brief. Then we've obviously got our task lists, and we're using sections to put those tasks into. Finally, task dependencies can let you know if a task can't be completed just yet because it's waiting on something else. Well, you can add that in there. Now, I love using task dependencies because it kind of flags for the person that you're waiting on that they need to get the task done for you to get your next step done. It keeps the momentum going in a business where you've got multiple people working on a project and you want them to work semi-autonomously on tasks that impact each other's. Now, if you're finding this guide helpful so far, we offer small businesses Asana setup and support. Now, IT Genius works with customers all over the world and we'll handle everything from setting up to customization, ensuring there's a seamless experience for you getting started with a tool like Asana. So if you need some help with someone to take care of the tech while you focus on running your business, well, we can help implement Asana for you and build in some of these project principles to the templates in your own Asana file. Number 4 is key dates and deadlines. This is something that you want to communicate to the team, but you can of course set your task deadlines on each individual task inside of Asana. Now, personally, I like to set start dates as well as finish dates inside Asana because that allows them to show up in the timeline view, which is very useful to see how your project is progressing over the course of a timeline. There's actually multiple views. There's also a Gantt view, which is a bit more compact. So you can check out both of those and see which one you like. Now, for me, as much as possible, when I'm overseeing a project, and typically I'm more of a project owner role rather than project manager role, I want to see where can I give support to the team. If no one set a milestone on the project, I can't see at a glance whether this thing is running on time or not. And I use the portfolios view inside of Asana to see across multiple projects across the business. And portfolio view immediately allows me to see which projects are hitting milestones versus those that are missing. So my recommendation would be to set milestones, again, roughly equivalent to your phases in a project. So probably no more than 30 days apart. And that gives your team a stake in the ground to both know if things are running on time or not, but also celebrate when they get through important chunks of a project. Asana's built in all of the basics that you need to make sure your project runs well. Step 5 is cadence and communication. And this is where it really becomes important to keep the momentum going on your projects. Now, we like having sync meetings, whether that's once a week or once a fortnight. I would say no more than once a fortnight for a project. And that just keeps everyone up to date on the same page. Now, what we like to do in those meetings is to actually open up the timeline or the Gantt view and show everyone exactly where we're at in the project. It gives everyone a visual reminder of exactly what's done and what's not yet done. And that lets everyone see what their part is in how the project is moving along. It's also a good way to troubleshoot tasks when you've got a visual reminder of what's coming up, as well as what people are working on right now. The other thing we like to do with our regular sync meetings is to triage new tasks. Now, sometimes something pops up and gets added to the project, or you change your strategy, or you've got to deal with a problem that's come up with a different tact or different way of solving it. Well, allowing your team the time to triage new tasks that have been added to the project is something that's good to be done often. The features I use in Asana for this are the status updates and the messages feature. Now, status updates are a great way to put your notes when you have that sync meeting, and it lets anyone else who's following the project know whether it's on track or off track. If you've got someone, further up the line, like an executive or an investor or board member or someone else who wants to know how this project is going, those regular status updates are probably the only thing they have the time or the energy to read or check in on. But giving a regular update, and again, my rule is no more than 14 days at a time, will let them know exactly how the project is going. Asana is a simple system. Some people look at it and say, hey, you know what? I don't want to run my business on this because I could just do the same thing on a spreadsheet. And to that I say, yes, you could if you really wanted to. But Asana over time becomes a pleasure to use when you can see your workflow organized and you've got team that are delivering projects consistently. What I love about Asana is that it works great across all my different devices. It's super snappy in the browser, and it becomes a knowledge resource for us to see not only what we did this year, but what we did the year before and the year before that. And it allows us to plan and execute strategy in the business in a way that we just couldn't before we used the right system for it. Now, of course, there's alternatives. You could look at ClickUp or Monday or Trello and a bunch of other products that are out there on the market. We love Asana, and we've got lots of videos on this channel on how to get set up and get Asana working for you in your business. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're a project genius by the end of it. And if you want to share more about your experience, drop a comment down below this video.